If each of you could kind of say what holding on to Baba's Damaan as you leave here and go into, you know, the next week, the next year, what that means to you. Leatrice?
Well, to me, it means so many things that would take a long time to say everything, but right off the top of my head, or I would say, is to remember Baba always with love as much as you possibly can. And when incidences or life's distractions divert your attention from Baba, to get right back to thinking of Baba and repeat his name. And to listen to what Baba is telling you all day long, to be open for his suggestions and for his promptings, and to obey those without hesitation, not to question them, and to learn to distinguish when they are Baba's promptings and when they're just your own. And so that's what I would call holding on to Baba's Damaan, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Lynn?
Well, that question leads me into the subject that I was originally planning to go into, which is about this 14-year period. I can give you the gist of what that is. Years ago, we heard from the Mandali that Baba had said that he would be spiritually completely in charge of everything that happens in the world for 14 years after the dropping of his body. That Baba would hold the reins of creation entirely in his own hands. And that after this 14-year period, Baba begins to relax his hold on the reins of creation. And what happens when Baba begins to let go of the reins is that we begin to experience the results of Baba's universal work. And that means we're in a period now leading directly to Baba's manifestation. I had long conversations with Bao about this some years ago. Letting go of the reins for Baba, I think, in my opinion, means that up to now, for these 14-year period since Baba dropped his body, and you know, all the Baba dropped was his body. In other words, the work that was necessary for Baba to do with the physical body was all done. Now, we have been in a period where he didn't need his physical body to continue the final phase of his work. And I feel that Baba's work is now completed 100% to his satisfaction, all of his work, and the results of that work are going to begin to manifest in a dazzling way for the world. Well, it means when Baba relaxes his hold on the reins, that Baba is not so much holding on to us as he has been these 14 years, but it falls to us now to hold on to Baba. It is us who have to hold on to Baba more than Baba is holding on to us, because his attention is diverted away from his lover further out in a wider orbit of creation. And I just feel that Baba has led us along these 14 years very gently, has looked over us in a very intimate way, and he will continue to do that. But Baba now expects us to hold on to him more tightly, and that's why I tried to stress yesterday the importance of holding on to Baba with both hands. And I said both hands means right and left cortex. So holding on to Baba is the most important thing right now, just as Baba said. Understanding has no meaning by itself. Love has meaning. Obedience has more meaning, but holding on to the Damaan has most meaning. That's all. Next.
Thank you, Bernice.
Well, for me, holding on to Baba's Damaan means to continue to carry out the orders that Baba has given me, and to be more vigilant and ever more watchful that I might forget or relax, be relaxed, or in doing the things that Baba has told me to do. In other words, I must, listening to Lynn, be very much more watchful that Baba's Damaan doesn't slip from my hands because I have disobeyed him and have not done the things that he has asked me to do and ordered me to do in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
Jai Baba. Well, normally I begin my day every morning when I'm at home with a few prayers recited to beloved Baba. And one of the lines that I always remember are from his song of the new life. That even if the skies were to fall and even if all sorts of difficulties were to come over, make sure that you do not lose hold of the truth. And quite frankly, even though I pray and all, and then step out into my day-to-day living, there are times when irritations overwhelm me, and I even blow my top once in a while. And when that happens, I might use even a sort of language which I wouldn't dare use before beloved Baba. But at the same time, even as this is happening, my heart is telling me, well, you have slipped there again. And so I remember Baba and try to come back to normal, at least that state of normalcy which beloved Baba would expect from me. And that's how I strive and struggle to keep holding on to his Damaan all the time.
Thank you. Adele?
I find that the best way is through service and forgetting oneself as much as I can. And I too begin the day by trying to remember how to please Baba by not doing anything that I would not do in his presence. And of course, just trying to live up to that ideal is an excellent guiding line for me to hold on to Baba. I find that selfless service is indeed the ideal that only Baba himself exemplified, but in this lifetime I can certainly try to serve in the way that he has provided for me to serve, and that in itself just gives me an infinite number of opportunities to just forget myself. I would like to just say that Sam and I had a unique visit with Jean Adriel just before we came. And we found her in a state of tremendous surrender. She was just absolutely composed and sincere in a way I had never known before, because she had fallen away from Baba, as we all know, and had come back to him sporadically. But this time, when Sam and I were there, she said, I am nothing. I am nothing. I can't, what am I doing here anymore? I'm not serving, I'm not doing anything, and she just kept talking about Baba too. And I don't know whether Sam wants to say any more about that, but what was your impression? I mean, didn't you feel she was an empty shell?
Yes.
Baba had brought her to the point where all she saw was Baba, finally. And that's where I'd like to come.
Thank you. Bill?
Thank you. Jai Baba. As soon as I hear the question, of course, my mind immediately says, what does one do in a practical way to hang on to his Damaan? What are the points? And I liked very much what each one said, but I particularly agree with Sam. I have found myself, in my own experience, I have found that it does help to say the prayers first thing. And as it were, to be for a moment wholly with him. And to begin the day on that basis. And then turn to whatever task he's given one wholeheartedly. People often ask me, but it's all very well for you. You were given something to do by Baba. But what about us, who never had direct orders? Well, of course, there are the things that Baba asked that that all of us do. No drugs. I mean, you know the ones. No drugs, honesty, complete honesty. No sexual contact other than in marriage, and no following of other masters or contact with other masters. But in thinking about it again, it reminds me of a story that Erich told that I think is very applicable. Well, it is with me, that in terms of my day, often I realise, well, Sam mentioned it, that you lose your temper, that something happens that disturbs one's equilibrium. And immediately one's mind turns back to Baba. And it reminds me of the story, a very lovely story that Erich told. He was quoting the early diaries of somebody in America who was at a reception with Baba, a lady, and Baba gestured towards her, come to me. And she held back, she didn't move. Baba again said, come. And the woman held back. And again Baba said, come. And finally the woman burst out, came towards Baba and burst out at the same time, how can you ask me to come to you when I'm such a wretched, such a miserable person, when there is nothing of worth in me? How could you ask me to come to you? And Baba said, remember, when I say that I love you, I create a pool of love within you. Each time that you feel wretched, that you feel miserable, that you turn away from me, return again to that pool and dive into that pool. Refresh yourself in my love and begin again a new life. In other words, I don't know, for myself, so often, I fail to do what I know Baba would want me to do, and to be the way Baba would want me to be. But I remind myself as best I can, as often as I can, that Barbara's compassion is there. And that even if I have failed, remember that point, as he said, I love you. And in that loving, he creates a pool of love within each one of us, within me. And I find that helps to return. Somehow you take a breath. It's like taking a fresh breath, a deep breath again. You say, right, let's begin again. And at the same time, I also find that it helps to relate everything that is done, that I do and that happens to me, to Barbara. What is Barbara trying to teach me at this time? What is Barbara saying to me in this particular line of activity? It is true that Barbara asked me to do certain things, and by his grace, he's given me the opportunity of following that. As you know, he said for me to develop Avatar's abode as a place of world pilgrimage. And fortunately, he's given me the means of being able to do it. But as with everything, there's nothing in this life that is 100% to one's liking. One would never grow up if that was so. One would never become cooked in his love. One has to go through difficulties and dry periods. But I have found myself that if I remember and say, now, Barbara, what is it that you're saying to me? What is it that you are trying to teach me in this particular instance, this particular activity? And that renews the feeling basis that I have with Barbara and enables me to tackle what it is with renewed vigour and freshness. Jai Barbara.
Okay, does any of the participants, would you please, yes, address it to one or two panel members, and that way we'll get more different ideas. In the back. Yes.
Sam, this is for Sam. Having had contact with Bob, and since we all basically know what Bob wants from us and the goals he's given us and the means that he's given us to try and attain those goals, when you see someone who calls himself a Bob lover or is a Bob lover, and you see you say, have you ever thought to yourself, how can that person do that and still say they're a Bob lover? And have you ever had any experience where you had the thought come to your mind that how can this person say they're a Bob lover and go and do this, and has Bob given you any experience and he's told you that your judgment is really worth nothing and you don't know what's working out with that person?
Do you want the questions repeated for the mic?
No, Sam would understand.
The question, if any of you didn't hear it, is basically, have you had experiences in which you had a judgment, how can somebody be a Baba lover and have done this, and then Baba has showed you the error of your ways?
Yes, many a times. I might come across an individual who declares himself to be a Baba lover, and his behavior or his attitude to life would be entirely contrary to what he declares himself to be, a Baba lover. And in the early days, I used to be a very critical judge about all these things. But somehow or other, for the last few years, I feel there is a slight change in me. Mind you, I repeat the word slight with great emphasis. Yes. There is a slight change in me, which I hope is for the better. And now when I start criticizing or judging this man internally within me, the first thing that I say to myself is, well, Mr. Sam, you are no better. And you could be doing the same thing except for beloved Baba's grace. Then another thing that helped me in this particular approach to life was a story of Ali, the son-in-law of Prophet Muhammad. An individual who hated and detested Ali for a very, very long time eventually gets convinced of the internal greatness and beauty of Ali's life. And he approaches Ali and he says, Ali, kindly forgive me for all my abuses to you in the past years. And Ali smiles and says to him, well, now you are asking me to do the very impossible. And the man said, how come, Ali? Couldn't you forgive me? And this is what Ali told him, that I have not been sent into this world to judge my fellow man. And since the authority to judge my fellow man has not been given to me, the question of forgiving him does not arise. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
There's some more hands. Ron.
This is for Lynn and Leatrice. I wonder if in your contact with Baba, if you ever got the impression that Baba wanted all of his lovers to take some type of feeling of responsibility toward one another, in helping one another to stay focused on Baba and keep hold of his Damaan.
The question for Lynn and Leatrice was, has you ever got the feeling that Baba wanted you to take responsibility towards other Baba lovers to help them keep focused on Baba?
You go first.
Yes, I do feel that I do have that responsibility to serve others and to serve Baba by helping them to know what it is to be with Baba and what that experience is. I can't tell you how it came about, but it is a deep yearning within me to express or to share everything that I know and everything that I've felt about Baba, so that anyone to help anyone to know what it's like to be in Baba's presence and to feel the way we felt when we were with Baba. I feel that very deeply, that it is a responsibility, and to try to do it to the way Baba would like me to, although I fail many times, but still I try to.
Lynn?
Well, I've been blessed with this very responsibility, because I've been put in a place where where Baba lovers come. Baba's one place where in America where Baba lovers can always come to be totally renewed in Baba's love and to get reestablished in that center. And of course the real center is in ourselves. So I feel that my duty and responsibility is actually this, to help people to get better centered in Baba. And Baba has given me a lot of experience because I've spent about 17 years in Myrtle Beach talking to people about Baba. And I'll just tell one little incident. One day, this was years ago, I walked down to the center, and I went out on the patio, which is just off of the original kitchen. A few steps down, it's a screened-in patio. And I just sat down out there in the chair, and you can hear what's going on in the original kitchen from the patio if you happen to be near a window. And I was sitting there for about an hour, and there were a bunch of people in there, and I was listening. And there was no talk about Meher Baba at all in about an hour. And I said, I thought to myself, why aren't they talking about Baba? And I had the impulse to do this, but I didn't do it. I had the impulse to to walk into the room, because I couldn't recognize any of the voices in there. I had the impulse to walk in and say, I'm new around here. Does anyone here know anything about this MeherBaba that they're talking about? Who is this MeherBaba they talk about? And then later, I was at Elizabeth's house, and we were talking about something. I mentioned this incident to her, and I told her that I had the impulse to do that. And Elizabeth said, "Oh, I wish you had done it." Because I think the best thing that we can do for Baba and for ourselves and for others is to keep bringing coming back to the center of the subject, which is always the Divine Beloved. We should always try to work the conversation back to Baba. And I've gotten very good at that at the center. Well, I'll go in the kitchen, and as soon as I come in the kitchen, everybody knows they're going to have to talk about Baba whether they like it or not. And that's the job Baba sent me to do there, I feel. It's very important for us to help each other by sustaining our confidence in love for Baba, to help one another. That's all.
Thank you, Lynn. Gay? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jill.
In the world, but I was a very social family, and I sort of expected by my parents to be able to make good cocktail party conversation, and I disappointed my
To make what?
Good cocktail party conversation.
Oh, I love to make cocktail parties.
So that's just one example. I mean, whenever people in the world don't want to talk about Baba, then how, is there any advice you can give on how to try to stay with Baba while there's skills of conversation are going around, and you feel like you must join in somehow?
Well,
The question,
I think I understand.
okay.
And we all Baba lovers have that feeling that why is there so much talk about nothing? And why, but we can turn that question around. We can turn it back. Baba liked to always show it to you this way, and then he'll show it to you this way. You could also say that talk about anything is talking about God. So you can look at it either way. But and we should feel relaxed in the situation. At the center, I feel that people shouldn't talk about anything but Baba, because it's their opportunity. Well, it's a 100% Baba atmosphere. Why shouldn't they be talking 100% about Baba? But as soon as I go off the center, I visit my mother, who lives in a condominium across the street from the center, in Briarcliff West. And she has friends visiting her over there, and they're not Baba lovers. They don't know anything about MeherBaba. And I go over and talk to my mother, and I talk to people, and I'm right across the street from the center. And I never mention MeherBaba. I mean, the conversation never gets into Baba. But I know that this is important. We should, if we are connected to the avatar, which we all are in this room, every single human being in this room is connected to the avatar. directly and indirectly. We should if we have faith in Baba, then we have to have faith in ourselves as being connected to him. And that means that wherever we go, we are carrying Baba's presence with us, wherever we go in the world. And it doesn't mean that we have to talk about Baba wherever we go. Let's always remember that Meher Baba, the key element in Meher Baba's advent was his silence. And I feel that we carry on that silence. When we're not with one another, we go silent about Meher Baba and we do his work in silence. And that means we don't have to talk about Meher Baba to the general public. Baba was absolutely opposed to proselytizing. So we have to shine for Baba from within. We don't just go blah, blah, blah for Baba. We only do it when it counts. So when you're with people who don't love Baba and who don't know about Baba and don't know as much of the truth as we know, be happy that you can bring your presence to that situation. And that's enough. Leave it to Baba. Just leave it to Baba. Have faith that wherever you go, Baba is touching to some great degree. Does that help to answer the question?
Do any of the other panel members have comments on how to hold on to Baba in non-quote-unquote Baba conversations and business? No one? Rose.
Denise dealing with a lot of children and Sam working in the everyday world. So I would like to ask you, when you came up against some situation where you were just totally angry, Baba says you're supposed to be angry but not express it, but are you able to do that? And how does that work? Do you have any words of wisdom on how to control your temper?
Well, with children, I remember when Baba was in New York in 1956, he had finished the interviews in the room that he gave the interviews, and he strolled out into the lobby, on his way to take the elevator up to his rooms. And my niece was standing in away from Baba, but facing him. And Baba wanted her to come to him. He beckoned to her, and she said no. Well, immediately, I started to charge over it. Immediately. Baba said, leave her alone. I'm saying that to say that this is my nature, that she should pull away from Baba. Baba called you and you didn't come to him? I was going to get her by her hair and drag her over. Immediately, without any hesitation, right there in front of, in Baba, that's my nature, you see? So Baba showed me. I used to try to, curb this way I have of demanding obedience and respect from, the children. And Baba showed me this is all right, that this is my nature. And the fact that I did it in front of him, it's natural. Don't try to stifle it, you see? So I don't know if that answers the question. Be natural, be yourself. You're going to, I don't feel that, I didn't feel angry, it's that she didn't obey Baba, And I went with force, with whatever, get over here to Baba, you see? And that is the way I am. And I demand that the children be respectful and obedient. And it isn't done with anger, You know, I may give a fiery appearance, and I get results with that too. You know, they think I'm a whole lot more than I actually am. I'm not feeling anger towards them, you know, but they know if mommy says, you know, and she gives that, and they go get to it, you know.
Thank you. In the back. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Well, in my case, most of the time when the occasion to blow my top comes about, it is with total strangers. So that bond of love or family relationship is absent there. And very frankly, I've blown my top and felt much better after that. Much better after that. But as I remarked a few minutes back, there seems to be some slight change in me. And these days I'm myself surprised at the nature of my anger, that I'm not truly angry, in the sense that previously, along with my anger, there used to be a sort of viciousness in me. And that sort of has it's not present there. And as I said, I feel very much happy and relaxed after having blown my top. Otherwise, you know, that bottling up within me would have created more upheavals or damage within me. After the matter is all over, I quietly sit down and within me, of course, not loudly, I tell Baba, well, there you are, I have failed again. I'm sorry. Tomorrow morning, as usual, I'll be repeating my prayer of repentance, and if you feel like it, kindly accept it. Jai Baba.
Thank you. In the back, John.
One of the statements that Baba made comes up to me in my mind a lot, and that is when Baba said, to learn to love God by learning to love those who cannot love. And I think we're all confronted with that in different ways throughout our life, and I'd like to know some of the ways that you all have found to approach that statement.
The question was the statement, learning to love God by learning to love those who you cannot love. When you're confronted with that, what happens? Could you address it to one or two? Who'd like Leatrice?
I've had some occasion to try that out. The first time was in India in 1962, when I came down off the platform where Baba was, and being with Baba, I saw this little Indian lady who had a very ugly face, and I wouldn't be attracted to her at all. But she looked at me and she said, Jai Baba, and she had such Baba love in her eyes that I just immediately loved her and said Jai Baba back. And so I found out that trying to see Baba somehow in this other person, anyone to whom you take an aversion, and trying to see some good point somewhere, and then just think about that instead of the things that bother you, that little by little you get to a point of acceptance and let it go at that, and then little by little you find that it's gone away. It's a starting point, and it seems to have helped me a great deal. I haven't conquered it entirely, but it's something that I'm working on.
Thank you. Bernice?
I used to go out of my way to try to make people, you know, like me, or if I felt a person didn't like me, I would go out of my way to try to make that person like me. And once Baba showed me, you know, everybody isn't going to like you in this world, you know? And it isn't for you to try to make a person like you. No matter what you do, somebody is going to disapprove of it. So you do your best. You try not to hurt another person deliberately. And if that person doesn't respond, give it to Baba and go on. See? Too much focus and too much emphasis would be put on me. The person has to like me. I have to do all I can to get this person or that person to like me. It isn't that way, or to see things as I see them. I can't talk to people about Baba. Baba has put me in an area among people that they don't want to know about, they're happy the way they're going, and they don't want to know anything. So it is for me to live Baba's life as he has given it to me to live. And I get remarks, oh, you don't come to church and you don't this, but you seem to live a Christian life, see? But that is what Baba wants me to live it. They see, they don't want to hear, but I'm to live so that Baba's love is seen. They don't recognize it as his love, and his life. But that is the way Baba wants me to live. Not to try to get everybody to like me. They don't have to.
Okay, we'll only have time for one or two more at the most, so the most burning hands stay up. Okay, in the very back. Yes. But the question is for Bernice, those people who've never heard about Baba, who don't want to hear about Baba, but they ask who Baba is, how do you reply?
Well, it isn't that they, have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses there. You understand? A lot of, all right, do I have to say any more? Need I say more? All right, and the ones who will, would stay, if they come to my apartment, and there are times when I, have affairs, and I invite everyone, and Baba's pictures are all over, and, they ask, who is that? And the minute you say, well, he's like Christ, they're finished, they're finished. In fact, when I went to India in 1981, I lost a whole slew of friends, friends, quotes, because, oh, you're still following that, They found that I was going, they were trying to get me to join this church and become active in the church. And I was leaving the next week to go to India. And I told them I couldn't attend the meeting, I was going to India. Oh, you're still in that? They haven't bothered with me since. But this is what I mean. So I don't try to, if they ask me who Baba is, I tell them. If they want to hear it, all right. When the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on the door, I invite them in. There he is. That's what I do. I bring him into the living room. And I said, there he is. There's your Jehovah. That's right.
Thank you. Steve.
This question is directed to Bill and Adele. And seeing that Bill's past has been in psychology and Adele has been in healthcare, what is the responsibility of a Baba lover to address their psychological well-being and their physical well-being?
The question, oh.
I think, what was that? Go ahead.
Don't go ahead at all, I know.
What?
Jacko's having a shot at Steve. No, don't, there's nothing, you just go ahead.
Well, I just think it falls all within the category of knowing yourself and being honest. I mean, why would it be any different for anyone in any field, whether you're a psychologist or a health person? I think the question of just knowing yourself is vital for any kind of balance. And there are so many people that are always, as Bernice very vividly was portraying the other day in her talk, shoving things aside. Then how can you help anyone when you're not being honest about yourself? I find that's one of the great advantages of growing older, that you're not so tempted to try to just be more selfish and vain, and those things fall into perspective more and more. I think that, what was your question again? What was your question precisely?
The question was the responsibility as a Baba lover in the healthcare field of bringing health
individual responsibility of the Baba lover to themselves to deal with their psychological crap and their
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Well, 100% responsibility, yes, true. Love is no game of the faint-hearted and the weak. It is born of strength and understanding. And, of course, finding fault with yourself first is much healthier, much better, and certainly vitally necessary in order to see the mote in the other guy's eyes. Find it first in your own. I mean, this eternal truth never changes.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I didn't hear it properly. What immediately came to mind was something that happened with me with Baba. I thought the question related to psychologists. I thought that, and people who profess to give help to others. The question, what came to mind was that I was very concerned for myself about my ability, my right to even say anything with regard to another person. Fortunately, early in my contact with Baba asked me what I did. And that gave me the opportunity to say, I'm trained as a psychologist, but I feel very hesitant to practice it. Because what the heck do I know? And Baba said, take my name before every interview. And that to me is the whole key to it. There's nothing else. If he doesn't do it, if you could express it in the sense of that one tries to remember to say whatever, before whatever one does, let your will prevail, not mine. Whatever you wish to express in this situation, whatever you wish to achieve, whatever you wish to happen, let it happen through me, if that's your will.